I was really excited to meet Cindy because she was doing something that has like not been done before, and like I'm sure you probably heard like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. Like, why in Watsonville? Do it in LA or something,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I always heard that's not gonna work in a small town. People don't dress like that. And to be honest, I think I've been in business for 17 years. It hasn't been easy. Good morning.
Yes. This is my friend
Cheers,
Cindy.
cafecito.
Cheers, my love.
Cheers.
Por atrás. This is my friend Cindy, and we are live this morning in Queen Shoes Boutique. This is my first episode back on my podcast for LiLiPaulina Beauty podcast, where we talk about spirituality, self-love, self-development, business. And I couldn't think of a better person to start it with back. It's with my friend Cindy. She has been a huge, huge inspiration to me. I met her when I was 14 years old and pregnant.
Long time ago.
A long, long time ago.
I still remember that day. Yes.
Yes, it was your grand opening.
It was my grand opening. 17 years ago, I opened the business, and there comes this little girl, because you looked like a little girl, and with la pancita, tiny little belly, right? When
Yes.
you were telling me about your story. So
I think it was like I was really like popping out. So I had my son at 15, but I must have been 14 because I got pregnant at 14. And I just remember, like, we're from a town in called Watsonville in California. And at some point, we actually had the highest record of teenage pregnancy. Unfortunately, it was like a thing. And there was not like, our town has grown a lot. It has grown a lot. And I feel like small businesses have a lot to do with it. I feel like our culture, like our like second generation Mexican Americans, have a lot to do with it, because this was actually a farm. It is a farmer's town.
It is a farmer's town. Farmer community.
A farmer community. So there wasn't like much. It was a small town. It's grown a lot.
Yes, I always heard that's not gonna work in a small town. People don't dress like that. And to be honest, I think I've been in business for 17 years. It hasn't been easy. If it looks like it, trust me, it hasn't. But I feel like I'm swimming against the current sometimes, because I do have this aesthetic, I guess, if you will, or this style that I embrace, that I want to stick to. You know, like the elegant, timeless pieces that a lot of the times people confuse with señora or old lady, which to me is nada que ver. It's just classic and that elegant style that never goes out of style. It's always, to me, it's not, there's one thing, there's fashion and then there's style. And I guess that's what I'm trying to bring with Queens, with my collection. Style that never fades. You know, you wear the garments, you add your own signature to the pieces that you wear and make them your own, versus bringing trendy stuff that you can find in every other store. Like, I've always tried to stay away from that, but I think I'm swimming against the current, because people come and they want what they see out there.
The fast fashion.
The fast fashion. They want what they see on the Sheins, on the Forever 21s. That's what they want. You know, what they saw the blogger posting. And I'm like, but that defeats the purpose of style. You're supposed to create your own identity, you know? So it hasn't been easy, but I'm staying true to who I am, and I'm staying true to the style that I want to portray and that I want people to embrace, I guess.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been easy.
No, I can see that, especially because, like, again, like, so I don't know if I explained this to you guys. When her business is Queen Shoes and More still.
Queen Shoes, yeah. Queen Shoes Boutique. Started more as a shoe store in a little rack for my collection. I still remember when I opened, it was, all the store was shoes, and I had one rack with pieces that I myself stitched, put together for the grand opening. My sister at the time was helping, and Doña Tere, which she's still helping at the time. But back then I used to sew most of the things. So I had this little rack, but soon I realized that people wanted more clothes. So I started bringing other designers, other brands, boutique brands that
Yeah.
are affordable.
Yeah.
So that's how Queens became more a clothing store, but we started as a shoe store.
I remember that. It was mostly shoes, and it was like a
yeah,
little rack.
my clothing, my designs and shoes, and now it's lots of clothes, some shoes, and still my own section for my designs.
Yes, which, oh my god, right now, once we're done with the live and stuff like that, I'm gonna show you guys around the store, especially her collection. Like, she is like truly a creative, like through and through. There's a difference between being a business owner and then like a creative and artist, and you are like rocking it in both. You really are.
Well, I'm trying. I'm telling you, it's not easy. And good thing you say that, because I think a lot of the times we don't realize that I'm actually doing two jobs. Like having a business, the retail part of it, Queens, is one thing. I need to be a buyer, buying things that go with the style that I want to portray, but that I also think my customers are going to like. And then the designer part, designing the pieces, creating the production. So in reality, it's like managing two businesses at the same time.
It is.
And it's like, a veces, pulls me every direction, that I feel sometimes that maybe it's time to compress and choose one or the other, because I feel that I haven't been able to fully give my 100% to one or the other. I'm splitting myself in half. And plus being a mom, which is my priority number one.
Yeah.
So you understand moms that, all moms understand that when you're trying to make something happen but still be a good mom, it gets really hard, and the guilt que no te deja. You're always spreading yourself thin, and it's a challenge, but it's doable. I think God gave us enough strength and, the capacity we need to do anything we want. It gets hard, but we're definitely capable of doing that.
I feel like that's where the beauty of life comes in the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Because you get the opportunity to really show who you are in that moment. Like, it's easy to show up your best when things are flowing and grooving, like, but who you really are is how you show up when things are hard.
Yeah. I do believe that it is from the tough times that you build yourself, because it is like the opportunity you get to grow and to maneuver or control that one thing that is bringing you down. Whatever hardships we face are the things that, or the bricks that are building us stronger. I so heartily believe that it's how life is meant to be. It doesn't mean that it's always going to get hard before it gets better, but what I mean is that the things that are hard, and sometimes we feel that we're not going to be able to get out of it, I feel it's always for a reason, and they come to teach us something. Because tell me si no, when you face something really hard, that you think about it now and you're like, damn, I felt that I was not going to be able to get out of that darkness.
Yeah.
But now you can think back, and remembering that feeling is like, damn, and now here I am, and I'm stronger than ever because I went through that.
Yeah.
It's that, like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and it's true.
And wiser.
And wiser, for sure. It's so much wiser. You learn, to see life in a whole different view, different perspective in life, for sure.
I also feel like the hard things are not going to stop coming.
Nope.
They're not going to stop coming, and I see them as challenges. I'm really careful with my words now. Like, I'm on it with my kids, and I, like, I have this thing where I get, like, the ick when they say, like, I can't. It's like, no, decide, are you doing it or not? In this house, we don't say we can't. It's a decision, because I want to empower them, and I think from the hardships, I have learned that perspective is everything. Mm-hmm. Perspective is everything, and those hardships really do level you up and equip you for the next challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's so important to me, like, like, money comes and goes, businesses comes and goes, friendships come and goes, even family, everything.
Yeah. Nothing is forever.
Yeah. But
That's
what I
one
can
thing.
leave my kids with, si Dios, hopefully God willing, I stay here a long time, but healthy.
Hasta que seamos abuelitas. That's
Yes,
my goal.
it's like leaving them with wisdom,
Yes.
the wisdom from the lessons in my life.
And I think as parents, one thing that I've learned is that first, we don't know how to be parents, right? Kids
Yeah.
don't come with a manual of instructions. We learn as we go, and I think the ones teaching us is actually our kids.
Yeah.
They're teaching us to be parents. And I think we have now the opportunity, this new generation, to show them or to allow them to show us different. I think back in the day, this is what I think, you don't have to agree with it. But I think our parents, their generation, they had the mentality of controlling, and it's my way or my way. And it was being rigid and being too controlling of what you did. I don't know if that makes sense. But
El que dirán.
Sí, el que dirán, or you only do certain things because that's what you're supposed to do, or I'm your parent and you do what I say. I don't think parenting is about that. I think we don't own our children's lives. They're their own human, they're their own self, and they have the right and the freedom. We should allow them to have the right and the freedom to do what they want. Obviously, guide them, right, to make the right choices, to know to distinguish between wrong and right. But at the end of the day, is helping them achieve their goals without having us. I feel like sometimes we want to live our dreams on them. Those dreams that we couldn't achieve, maybe and maybe our parents. It's in a way they did that with us. But I think it's definitely about not controlling, not trying to not control their lives, and knowing that they're their own being, their own self, and they will make their own choices, and we're only here to guide them, not to control them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I've learned it through experience.
Because you have a teenager already.
I have an almost adult. I have a 17-year-old.
Imagine. Oh my God, that's crazy.
I have a 17-year-old, and I think it's funny because, like, a few years ago, I would give him. I'm sorry, you guys, my throat.
Live streams. That's how they happen.
I would give him advice on things, and his thing was like, "Ma, you're only like a few years older than me, right? Like, when you're old, I'm gonna be old."
He feels like he's your sibling.
I think so. I'm like, actually, technically, we're 15 years apart, but who's counting, right? But my kids teach me so much every day. Thank you so much, by the way, for doing this podcast. It's been in my heart for like a long time, but alignment, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I understand as business owners, there's always things happening left and right, and it's hard to find time. But yes, I appreciate you so very much, so I wanted to make the time because it's important to me.
Me too.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Speaking about business, I've been doing hair and makeup for like a really long time, since I actually was maybe like a year after I had my son. It just kind of started like as like a hobby for me to kind of like self-express myself, because I was going through the baby blues with him, and I didn't even realize. And it just kind of started like pulling people into like my own little style, and before I knew it, I had everyone in my mom's garage, and I was doing like piercings, purple bangs, waxing, like whatever they would let me do that would alter their image. And I just that's who I identify myself with. But just like in life, like, and you grow and develop, and you see things differently, and your beliefs change and everything, like
you evolve. I think we are constantly growing and evolving, and we don't necessarily like the same things we used to like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And we can change careers too, even if you've been doing the same thing for, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been doing Queens for 17 years, designing my own line for about 20, because I started designing before I opened the shop.
Oh wow!
And
I didn't know that.
I would sell when I was in college. So I started designing clothes out of need, because I always loved dress. This would be me going to school at 7:45 in the morning when I was in San Jose State. Mind you, I didn't go to school for fashion. Okay, I went to San Jose State, and graduated with a degree in radio and television production. My goal was to have a radio show one day, like the Delilah show, where you tell stories and you give advice, that kind of thing. So now I have my podcast, and that's how the podcast came alive, because it was a dream back in college times. Anyway, so I started creating clothes out of need. And I lived in San Jose, so we would always go to Valley Fair. And every time I was wearing something that I made, I kid you not, every single time people would stop me. Where did you get that? And to me, it was like, I'm just wearing this like simple little black dress that I created because I needed that dress. See, and I couldn't find that simple classic piece, so I made it myself. And people would always stop me. At the time, I used to work for a startup company in the tech and the .com industry. And my boss at the time, I remember he said, whenever people ask you where you got your stuff, stop saying I made it. Say I'm a designer. And I think I really like the sound of that because I believe that. I'm like, that's right. I'm creating these pieces. I'm a designer. And I like the sound of that. So I remember I sketched a whole collection on the computer. I did like a booklet. Back then I named my line Blanco. Blanco was the original name for my collection. But then, whole story, there was another brand with that name, and they actually tried to sue me because I had the .com already. Anyway, that's another story. But so I created this sketchbook with my designs, and I went to a store in Santa Cruz. Ooh la la! My now dear friend and comadre Dione owned it.
Oh,
at the time.
Yep, that was another.
And she bought my pieces, and then another store in San Francisco who would only sell local designers also carried my pieces, and that's how I started. And I graduated college with, like I said, radio and television production degree, but I was doing fashion. And when I graduated, I'm like, it's time to go back to my little town and bring the city glam to the small town. So it started out of need. And and going back and looking at the things that I was able to create, I don't even know how I was able to do that. And I only say this not to decir como que fregona o mira lo que hice, sino to show the potential that we have, that I think we don't realize sometimes how capable we are of doing so many things, that maybe we just need to stop and explore. Whatever it is that's itching you or calling you, what if you actually give it a try? Sometimes I feel like we want to do so many things, but it's the fear, it's the uncertainty, it's the what if that stops us. But if you don't just go out there and do it, you're never gonna know. Yeah. And like I said, I've been doing Queens for 17 years, and I think it might be time for me to flip the page and see what's next on my book. But I feel it's time for change. I really feel that in the last maybe 2 years, it's calling me. I don't know what that is yet, but just an FYI, if anybody has the dream to, and I've told you before,
Yes, and I've been simmering in that for a while.
Because I think it's definitely a business that gives a lot. Like, it fills a lot of my, personal needs to make people feel better, and the clothes, their outfits. Like, I love that. Thinking that I wouldn't be doing this makes me sad, because it's very rewarding when people walk out feeling happy and beautiful in the outfit that I put together for them. But I also feel that you need to have that love and passion fully for this, because it is hard. So I do feel that might be time for somebody with that like passion, like when I started, to maybe take over. I'm putting it out there. I do feel it's a time for me for change.
It's gonna happen, girl, because I know what you're talking about. That feeling like it's just, and before you know it, it's happening.
Yeah. Because everything happens not when you want it to happen. I do believe that. But you have to do something about it. You can't just sit here and wait, okay, what's next? No, what are you doing for the next thing? Mm-hmm. it's like I said, visiting the ideas that maybe give you that passion that you enjoy doing. And what if, who says you can't make a living out of podcasting or cooking or whatever it is that is your passion? I think nowadays is like the easiest time to actually go out there and make things happen because of everything that we have in social media and the access to we have access to really anything.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of knowing what you want to do and knowing that you need consistency, commitment, that passion, and knowing that it's not easy. You're not just going to go out there and play, record, and all of a sudden we're going to go viral. It doesn't happen like that. It could. Some people get lucky and it happens like that. But reality is that it's a lot of work. And just knowing that you cannot just sit there for things to happen. You make things happen.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and it's true because I remember when I started beauty college, like the educators would tell us, like, 80% of you are not going to be here in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. 80% of the people that I started doing beauty school with, at least, if not more, are not doing cosmetology anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes work. I mean, Einstein, I'm probably butchering his name. How many attempts did it take him to create the light bulb? Like 1,000 or 10,000 or something like that?
Many. We just don't know sometimes the story behind. It's like we were saying earlier, when we share things on social media, all of us, we paint this perfect picture, but the reality is that you don't know what goes behind.
Yeah.
Even looking a certain way, people, because you're always dressed up and put together to go to work. And I had one time, I'm the same, I'm always put together anywhere I go. And one time I remember I was having such a bad day, and this customer says, my goodness, how do you do it? You're always like so perfect. And that day I felt definitely not perfect. I remember it was one of those days where you explode. I exploded with the kids in the morning. And to me, that is like the one thing that ruins my day. If I exploded in the morning, it's like, oh my God, like I failed. That's how I feel. So that day I had a horrible morning with the kids where I exploded. And I feel like when I have days like that, sometimes I try even harder in the way that I look to kind of help, bring that out. To remind myself that, no, I'm not that monster that exploded in the morning. I'm just human and it's normal. And, I make more effort to, when I look at myself in the mirror, I see an image that I like and I remind myself that beauty is in there. But I'm human and I'm going to make mistakes. So when that lady said that, I remember feeling like I wanted to cry. And I said, but it's not perfect. And I struggle so much with stuff, and I also scream. I also sometimes don't want to come to work. I also, all these things that sometimes we don't see behind the scenes, and it's like we all have struggles. We all feel not pretty or not good enough. We all have these doubts, but it's part of it. And it's, I think, embracing that it's part of it too, knowing that it's part of who we are, and instead of hiding it is, okay, that part of Cindy also needs a hug and needs to be understood and needs to be loved.
Yeah.
I told my husband and my kids once, when I learned to have the difficult conversations with them, because I want them to understand that when I feel the way that I feel, it has nothing to do with them, but I need them to understand that I feel like that I might be in a bad mood or I just want to cry, but it has nothing to do with them. So I had that conversation and I said, and when I feel like that, I don't even like myself. So I need you to love me even more. And I know it's really hard to see the beauty in me when I'm maybe in a bad mood or sad, but I need you to love me even more when I feel like that. Because I think we need to normalize that it's part of women what we go through. And I don't think men understand. And I have a wonderful husband who tries to understand, even though he thinks sometimes that it might be in my head, but he really tries to comprehend that it's part of who I am, and it doesn't mean that that's who I want to be, but it is part of who we are, and we just work with it. but not forgetting that that part of us also needs love and care.
Yeah. And I think it's important to be in like a little like to embrace those dark feelings, that darkness, like that yucky stuff, because that is what pushes you and gives you the momentum when you are in the light. You know, it gives you more momentum, more energy, more appreciation.
Y es como dicen, when you're in the darkness, if you're not in the darkness, then how do you see the light? ¿Ves?
Yeah.
So it's understanding that yes, as humans, we all go through ups and downs, and it's medically proven that women, because of hormones and all the changes that we go through, we're gonna go to even higher ups and downs, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And instead of hiding it, how about we talk about it and we embrace it, and we, talk about it with our husband and our kids so that they know. Because back in the day, we didn't know none of this. We didn't know. Our parents, our moms, at least my mom, wouldn't even talk about periods or all these feelings. We wouldn't talk about these things. And I think it's our chance now to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a different generation, a different perspective of parenting. Even with my 17-year-old to my 6 and 4-year-old now, I'm 3-year-old now, it's completely different. Like, I remember one time we were in the kitchen when my kids were having a meltdown because they're only 3 years apart, and I was just like, all right, guys, I have to stay calm and collected. With me, you would have been like let's get it together and vámonos, you know?
Se me calla ahorita y ya.
Yes, and it's like, that has brought my son and I closer, my oldest one, you know, but to me, it was just kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, there was like a little moment of guilt there where I was just like, I wish I would have given him this more patient, loving mom, you know?
But you are giving him that now.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that I've learned with parenting is that our parents never, at least mine, and I'm not here trying to victimize myself or anything. I'm just acknowledging that our parents had a different upbringing. They gave us the best that they could have with the tools that they had, but they never apologized, right?
Yeah.
Te daban el chingadazo, el madrazo, whatever, for behaving not the way they wanted you to behave. And that was it. Te portaste mal y te daban tu castigo, right? But I feel now with us, when we do explode, at least me and my case, when I do have those moments of explosion, then I compose myself and I talk to my kids and I make sure they know that has nothing to do with them. It's my fault, because it is my fault that I lost control. Yes, maybe the things that you did or the things that you didn't do when I asked you caused me to explode, but the fact that I exploded is only my problem. It's my responsibility. You have nothing to do with the fact that I exploded. And I'm sorry, and how can we do it better? So if you do the things when I ask you, I'm not going to explode because I don't have to repeat myself 1,000 times. So I think it's very important that we have those conversations, and we also learn to apologize and make them know that it's not their fault, because I think that's how we grew up, being people pleasers and being always trying to, at least in my case, like working, because that's the only way they're gonna love me. If I do all these things, they're gonna love me. Otherwise, they're not gonna love me. And it's those childhood traumas that, not because, our parents intended that for us, but they came with trauma, so we come with trauma. And hopefully we don't give so much behind to our kids now, but it's talking about those things and make them understand that it's not their fault that we scream and yell and get upset. It's not. It's our responsibility. Our emotions are our emotions, and I am responsible for them.
Yeah. There's so much more power in that, because otherwise you're victimizing yourself, and then it's not good for you or anyone around you, I definitely see that we're doing a lot better, like each generation,
Hopefully. We're learning. Like I said, I think we never stop learning, and our kids are teaching us each and every day. Each and every day is a new lesson, I feel, as a mom.
Yeah.
And it's just part of life. We learn as we go, and it's okay to allow ourselves to make mistakes and understand that we're humans and it's part of it. But when we make mistakes, and is when we have the chance to make amends, make it better, and learn from it. Because if you keep making the same mistake, then that's just who you are. You're not really learning anything, and you cannot be excusing or always apologizing when you're not really trying to make it better.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yes. No, it's true.
Yeah.
Our kiddos.
We definitely spoke a little bit about everything.
I feel like that's one thing I just realized that you and I have in common. We come from a family from entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, yes, because your mom, your aunts, your sisters.
Mm-hmm. Well, back in Mexico, my abuelitos used to have la tiendita. My dad's parents tenían la tiendita that then my aunt, who now owns her store here, she owned, and then she came to the U.S. And when I came to the U.S. at 13, I started working first as a nanny in the summers. And then at 15, I got my first job in retail at the discount mall. So that was my first taste at retail. And I started working there. And I remember one of the Korean ladies was selling her shop. She sold baptism and uniforms and children's wear. And I convinced my parents to buy it. And I promised them I was going to help and all of this and da-da-da-da.
Your first business deal, girl.
But I didn't. My mom was the one there, and my sisters, I kept my retail job. I would help, but I kept my job, which was next to my mom's at the women's clothing store and men's store with Miss Jean, I remember. But I would go with them to the fashion district in LA to get all the stuff. But even then, I never imagined or dreamt on having a store. I don't remember, honestly. I think the store just came overnight. Because I'm telling you, I went to college. I was about to graduate. And I remember I loved shoes. At the time in college, I counted 132 pairs of shoes. How did I manage to buy that many shoes? I have no idea.
When there's a will, there's a way, girl.
I didn't, te juro que no tenía ni para un café a veces, but I would have new shoes. Por eso no tenía para un café, because I would buy shoes instead. And I remember I was sleeping, or I couldn't sleep, and I kept thinking. I would see the store like in my head. Now I know that's, ¿cómo se dice? Manifesting. Back in the day, I didn't know that. But I saw the store. Mind you, I never shopped at boutiques. I would buy at the discount mall and Payless. Those were my sources for clothes and shoes. But in my head, I saw this store that looked fancy and had brand name shoes you would find like at Macy's or Bloomingdale's, because where else people in Watsonville go shopping?
Yeah.
So I would live in San Jose, vivía en San Jose, and then on the weekends I would come and I would go to church, and I would always be looking at people. And I'm like, they're nicely dressed, they have nice shoes. Where do they get their shoes? And I remember I went back. My husband, my novio then, is my husband now, but we were just dating, and I told him my crazy idea that what if we open a shoe store? When I graduate in Watsonville, and I thought he's gonna say I'm so addicted to shoes that I now want a store. But he's like, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. And Lily, I had just graduated college, no job. I was doing my internship in Telemundo, and then they hired me for like the minimum wage back then was like $10 an hour.
Wow.
And I was working there. But then they started cutting people because the economy started to change. I was one of the first ones to go. So I started doing more of my designs and researching about the business. And I had zero money in the bank, no assets whatsoever. But I still researched Google. Thank God for Google. How do you open a business? What do you need? You need a business plan. Then you go to a bank. You get a loan. Things still kind of similar, so take note.
Yes.
I created the business plan with all my ideas, what the store was going to be, all these things, went to the bank, and they said, the business plan sounds great, but you have no assets. We can't lend you any money. I'm like, well, what could I do? I mean, I think it's really gonna work. We don't have anything in town like this. I really think this is gonna work. All I need is to sell $100 a day, and I'm sure I can sell $100 a day. So the agent that helped me said, if your parents own a home, they can give you a signature. So I went home and I spoke to my parents. I talked to them about the line of credit that we can get with your signature. It's going to be my responsibility. I just need your signature. I convinced them. We have the appointment. We go to the bank. My dad doesn't show up. And he calls me. I'm like, Dad, where are you? No, I spoke to your mom. It's too risky. We're not going to do it. And I'm like, but Dad, you said I'm here at the bank already. No, you know your sis, because they had helped my sisters and other things, and things didn't work out. So now they were left with the debt. And now I understand, but back then I didn't. I understand that it was their fear that it didn't work and they already had that debt. Now doing this, who guaranteed them that it wouldn't happen? But what they didn't understand is that I wouldn't let that happen, and they didn't trust that I wouldn't. I would never leave them behind with that debt. That was gonna be my debt, and the fact that they didn't trust me, oh, hurt me like you have no idea. And for a long time, I think I hold a grudge. But when I became a parent, I understood how it's really hard to not think that all your children are going to be the same, you know? And not to blame anybody here, but I understand where they're coming from. But it hurt. So I remember I called my husband, my novio then. Éramos novios. We were only dating for 2 years. And I'm crying on the phone. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Da, 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 da. And we had spoken to his dad about it. And I think he had said, well, if you guys need, I can do it. So he spoke to my suegro and he signed. He said, schedule another appointment. He's going to come sign. So I was able to open Queens because my suegro, who was not even my suegro yet, believed in us, or in me in this case. I mean, I know he did it because of his son, but at the end of the day, it was my idea, my dream, and he believed that I could do it. So I'm forever grateful to him that all I wanted, I think, my whole life is that somebody believed in me, for me. Don't compare me to anyone else, but believed that I can do it. And I think the grudge that I had with my parents was that, not to blame them, but they would always compare us, and we cannot do that as parents. No. Each child is different. And me, I was like, how could you not see that I put myself through college? I didn't ask you for money. I paid my college. I worked and went to college. I bought myself my first car. So how could you not see that I was capable of doing that? So for some years I had that grudge, but I was able to let go and learn with healing and learning and becoming a parent that sometimes you can't help but to think that, what if it doesn't work? It's just the fear. We live with fear, and that was my parents. They were scared, and I don't blame them. I had a grudge for it, but I was able to let go of that.
And I'm sure now, after that healing, you guys are so much closer than you guys were before, right?
Yeah, and we can talk about the difficult conversations and not feeling pity or, guilt, because it's not my intention for them to feel guilt. It was just me. I needed them to understand that it was important for me. I think part of my healing has been learning that all I've been wanting my whole life from all the people around me is I wanted to be seen for me. Like, see me. Don't compare me with anyone else. I am my own self. And see my value for the human that I am. I'm not going to let you down. Whatever it takes, I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to make it happen. Or if it didn't happen, I would never leave you hanging with that debt. But thank God I didn't leave them hanging. I was able to pay that debt.
Yes.
But
Girl, and 17 years later, you're still in business.
I'm still in business. Like I said, it hasn't been easy, but I'm still here giving it my all. It is time for change. I don't know when that's coming, but I do give my best self to my clients when they come in, and I hope that they feel that.
We definitely do. And like things that I have bought from you are really timeless. Like
that sweater is from here.
It's from
Queens. At least what, maybe 5 years, or more. Yeah,
maybe
more, because I hadn't seen you in a couple.
Yeah, and it's like still in really good condition.
Even the shoes are from here. I recognize those.
Queens all the way, baby.
So yes, that's one of the things that I do. And I love when people come and say that, because it's a testament to what I want to do with this business. Bring you quality items that are still affordable, because they're affordable. I know for some people it might seem expensive, but it's affordable knowing that they're going to last.
Yeah.
Because it's good quality. I take pride in choosing items that are going to withstand trends and withstand seasons, and they're gonna just withstand the many washes and wears. And I really take effort in bringing quality pieces and stylish pieces that are gonna live a good while in your wardrobe.
I appreciate that as like a consumer, like, because they're like, I buy stuff from like a fast fashion, and it's just like a few washes and
it's disposable.
Literally, and then it's like, what are we doing to our our environment at that point? Like with fast fashion, and everything that I have bought from Cindy from Clean Shoes has lasted me for years, and it's still like good colors there. Like it's well worth what I invested in. It's an investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you.
Yes, girl, thank you. Oh my gosh, we can talk about for a long time, but I know we gotta
cut it short now. Yeah.
Yes, before we get off, I wanted to give you my product release.
Okay.
Yes, so this
do I open it?
Yes, I wanted you to open it in real time. So
okay, vamos a ver.
Yes.
Ooh, and this is the name of it?
So my business obviously is LiLiPaulina Beauty, which is my
smells so good, Lily.
Which is my hair and makeup shop in downtown Gilroy. But Beauty Fluff was actually born during COVID, and it's a product membership business, because I got tired of my clients like going to Ulta or Sally's and just shopping around trying to get stuff to make for their hair to look good and not fade. So I get high quality ingredient products, and I package it up for them in a monthly membership so they can take care of their hair. And that's the box that you're opening up, and what you have in your hand is my new product that I just released, that it was in my heart about 2 months ago, and I felt like Diosito was just like kind of like do it. And I learned, because I'm not a candle maker, it usually takes about 14 weeks to create a scent, develop it, and everything. But when something's for you, the time that it usually takes normally does not apply to you.
It just comes easy. It's like it's nature.
Yes.
Right? It just happens.
And
it flows.
Yes. And usually with candles, there's about only 3 scents, because then it can be too overbearing. Well, this candle has 4 scents in there.
It smells delicious.
Plus eucalyptus.
It's so fresh, and
plus real crystals. And I wanted it to be an experience. I wanted it to be something that lasted. It wasn't like a winter thing, a spring thing. Like
a timeless. I feel like this candle is the same thing that I just spoke about. It's timeless. It's seasonless. You could just have it on all year round. And I love what it says. Crafted for those days you need an extra little light, because we need the light.
Yes.
And I have a dear friend, Tere, that said, whenever you feel you need the light, actually turn on a candle.
Yeah.
You're turning that light. See it like that. Turn the light on for you. So thank you. This is beautiful.
And speaking of like light and stuff like that, like it is an experience. Like the aromatherapy that I put in there is to help your nervous system, and calm it down. And it's a whole like I didn't want it just to be another candle that smelled good. I wanted it to actually like
Have
help you and purpose. Yes, that's why the crystals, that's why the eucalyptus, and that's why the aromatherapy scents that I chose. So I hope you love it.
I love it already, and I can smell it and feel that zen.
Yes, yay!
It does. It smells delicious.
It got released this weekend, and it's now available.
Well, it's a perfect gift for Christmas, everyone. This would be great. I would love a candle for Christmas. Those who don't know what to gift me, I love candles.
Thank you guys so much, for watching us and being here. Thank you so much for your time, babe. I don't know if you want to.
Well, if anybody has, I mean, it was hard for us to keep up with if there was any questions, but if there's any questions, you can message me or message Lily, and any advice that we can provide, I mean, I'm open.
Yes, and then go ahead and like in the comments like put questions, because I think when it's live, like the comments go away. So after we publish this, any comments, any questions, any puedo hablar, you guys.
Any questions that you might have or had.
Yes.
And I will try and answer too, and Lily.
Yes.
So
I'm gonna work on the editing on the video. I'm gonna tag her Cindy's podcast as well, and her shop and stuff, and her label, because you guys need to like check out her label designs. Actually, right now when we get off, I'm gonna try on some stuff and take some pictures. So I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much for being here, and muchos besos and hugs.
Sí, mucha luz para todos.
Yes.
Work with those nails.
Girl, I have no idea.
Yo digo, ¿cómo se limpian?
Eso sí, no me pico.
It really smells really good, eh?
Really?
Yes, really, really good. I do smell that zen, that como que se me antoja estar en a tub, just relaxing.